Hello everyone and welcome back to another painting video. It's Ginger here. How are you all doing? We are slowly roasting in Scotland. Today will be a high of I think 24 for where we are, which is quite high. It's not the highest it's been, but it's still pretty high for this time of year. So I will be looking forward to when we go back to cooler climes. I have had an unbelievably busy week, and as such, and for somewhat overdoing it, I am now feeling absolutely rubbish and are really struggling to breathe. So I do apologise if I am out of breath. So what you see in front of you is another piece of the Fabriano. I've not treated it, so there's no gesso, no texture on this. It is simply just watercolour paper, and today it's more about having a play and getting a bit more expressive. So I'm going to be using the reference photo that you see up here of Benverachy. Benverachy is a mountain. I don't think it's a Munro. I don't think it's quite tall enough to be a Munro, but it is literally on my doorstep. Is a major feature of the landscape. I literally can't drive anywhere outside the village without seeing it. So it's a very dominant feature of where I live, and it's just absolutely stunning. It's not the most dramatic, I could say, of mountains, because obviously there are quite a few more interesting and more dramatic mountains in Scotland than this one, but it does have enough shape and texture to make it quite interesting as a subject. So I've got the Fabriano paper down on my main board. I have taped it off, and I have also taped it into little rectangles. So we have a grid of 3x3, kind of landscape shaped rectangles. And I'm just going to do the mountain and just expressively get it down with some marks, add some water, create some movement. And I'm just going to do the same thing, well, the same subject and reference photo for every single one of these squares. And I can tell you now, I know every single one of these is going to come out differently. And that's kind of the whole point, is this is all about being expressive. So I'm going to be using willow charcoal to start off with, and using plenty of water to move it around, and also one of my favourite soft brushes, this one, and also my spackling brush, which is this one. You guys will all remember this one. So I'm going to break the willow. It's a little too big for working on these. You get, I don't know how many sticks of willow you're supposed to get in a box, but the stuff just goes on, and it's like I can pull more and more willow out, and it just continues. So I don't know how they decide how many pieces of willow they put in here, because there's not even a weight on the box, so it can't be done by weight. So I don't know. Right, so first things first, just get some expressive marks down. So do I want to do a close-up of the mountain? Possibly. It's a nice shape as well. I'm not going to say it's a mountainy shape, but it is definitely something. And then it's got all this gorgeous, it's got like a cliff face that kind of comes down like that. Like that. This bit here kind of comes down like that. There's this tiny little bumpy peak at the top, comes out and down. There's a bit more definition up there. And then as this comes down, it kind of joins to the secondary hill peak, which kind of comes up and then down. This one's darker. This is where all the darker heather's growing on the other one, which is the lower face, which is fine. So we're just looking for shapes and dark patches, just like that. No problem whatsoever. So every time I put the charcoal down, it tries to run off the table. Water. Are you going to work? Yeah. Oh, of course the paper's warped. I'm using the piece of paper from the Derwent tinted charcoal. So it's a little roughed up, but you can see how the pigment's just kind of lifting and getting everywhere. Actually, I'm just going to... I probably should have cleaned the brush from the last time I used it. I didn't, and that was a bit silly, but never mind. I know I want all of this to come down in that direction. And you see when I do that, the charcoal particles moving with me. How's that? Yeah? No? Right. Okay. Let's leave that one there. I'm not going to work on the one directly either side of it just because water gets everywhere, so I don't want it to, I don't really want to be, do I want to work in wet? Huh, that's a good idea actually. Let's have a go. I've not really done this with charcoal before. I've done it sometimes with pastel, but be very careful because with pastel the pastel can soak up the water off the paper rather than adhere to it too badly, and then it starts to disintegrate the pastel. So, but charcoal's a bit different in the way it kind of responds. So let's go for a slightly wider format. So, and we'll also go higher up. So that's going to come down. It just seems to be drawing on the paper like the water's not even there. That is so weird. And then this has got the path that comes down. I really want this path because it's just so much fun. This path going down to here. Actually a body of water here. Like that. And then it's like, I don't want to stick to the paper because it's wet, says the charcoal. So I can draw on it through the water, but I can't do larger bits. That is so weird. So I can do little squiggles, but I can't do much else. Let's do the kind of cliff shape, comes up like that and then up, and then it kind of just continues down that way. I think I made that slightly too steep actually. And then it's got all these lines coming down. Like that. And this one has just got these huge areas coming down. And obviously the path is a lot lighter as it comes off. That needs to come way more that way, like that. And the water is really it's quite dark around the edge of the water. So something along those lines. So I've never really painted into water on watercolour, and actually I'm not overly impressed because I can get the line work, but I can't do anything else with it. So okay, right. Let's go for a slightly different technique. I'm going to switch to the dry pastel. How have I got any water on this side? No, I haven't. Right. So I'm going to do a light shape there. That's the sky. And then it's kind of one of my more favourite techniques to get these things down. So that's the main mountain shape there. And then you've got the secondary hill behind coming that way. And it's a lot more, well, it's a lot darker for a start because it's got all the heather on. So that's what we'll do. Leave the white gap there. That's more colour than there is anything else. Sorry, not to the camera. You see all the larger particles kind of pooling in the middle, which is really cool. Because look at the effect it's creating. So if I tip the board up, see them all? Oh, look at that. It's like, oops, sorry. I know, I kind of keep working that, but look at that. And again, what is it with me? Wait, hang on, it's because I can't see where the edge of the board is. That might be why. Sometimes I keep forgetting that I don't have all my faculties. Let's break some of these giant particles up, fun as they are. We've let the water run that way, so I'm not too fussed, but so we've got 3 out of 9, which I think so far is pretty good. Really liking that one. Not so keen on this one. Liking the texture here, but thinking, you know, I really want to get in there and just get some of this grey kind of mapped out. I don't want to take too much away because ideally I do actually want some of this texture. This is coming downhill, so we'll use fingers and just pull it down like that. Yeah, that's better. There's my cloth over there. Your cloth. Okay, so it's interesting. I'm not 100% on it, but it's definitely got a lot of texture. I mean, I can add more texture because if I keep it wet and then dab it with things like kitchen towel and stuff like that, you know, I think you can pull a lot more texture into it. Now, what happened to the brayer I had? So the problem is, I take a holiday painting trip, I go somewhere special for something with, say, 50 other people, and I come back, I pull my kit out, or at least I was too tired to pull the kit out, so the husband helped and pulled all my kit out, and now I can't find anything. I don't know where anything is. I don't know how long it will be before I can find all my bits and pieces. Right, I've also put the charcoal down and now only have the wet half to work with. And I don't know, I'm going to assume that somehow or another I have now put it underneath the board. I did put it underneath the board. And I've knocked the camera again. I am going to apologise. I'm going to keep doing this because I can't. I'm sorry. We'll just keep it going. Right, that's drier, but I want to work in the middle here. So, I just want to do quick lines across. And I'm just going to keep going over it. And the more you go over it, the more things get interesting. It's more of a squiggly line mess, but you can kind of see the shapes that we're going for here. So we've got the kind of drop away cliff edge here for the main mountain, peak of the mountain, the secondary hill, and that comes along this way and all the darker patches, and then somewhere in amongst all this is the path that comes down this way and the gully that comes that way. That's the water runoff gully. I think the idea is that the more I go over stuff, the darker it's going to be. Oh, let's go that way a bit. Like that. So because I'm going over these bits are the darker bits. And that should be the same here, so. And then up there. And then here. Same here. Round and round and down. Quite like that actually. Just like how kind of fun that is. We won't put any water on that one, but I will put some fixative so that we can work over that if we need to. So this is just my good old trusty Weller hairspray. Firm hold. Make sure it's a firm hold. I don't know what a lax hold would do. Do you even get like a, I suppose if it's scaled 1 to 5 on here, and up to 48 hours for frizz control complex. Ooh, we are controlling our frizz, people. Now, the reason I do this is because this is still, even the fixative is a wet medium, the lines will fuzz, should I say, slightly, because I'm putting a fair bit on, just because this stuff does tend to travel. Even with fixative, it still escapes. So just want to make sure it's not going to go anywhere for the time being. So we've done 4 out of 9 so far, so doing pretty well. And right, let's try different tactic. Let's zoom. I'm going to zoom right in on the top and work. So I've got that point there. And it comes to here and then across, and as it comes there it kind of curves up and goes that way, and then this one comes down, that goes up that way, that goes up that way, and this comes down and kind of trails off that way. So that's the path there. So I'm going to make this a little bit more detailed, not too much, just a little bit. So all these little side paths where deer are, where water runoff is, walkers just making their own kind of route up the mountain. And that's the thing about Scotland, is we have the right to roam, which means in theory, unless it's like a military base, like a royal residence or something like that, you have the right to generally make your own way anywhere. But obviously, always be respectful. Don't go tramping through gardens and stuff. That's just ridiculous. You know, I always find it really hard when people like abuse systems like that. But also because of it, what you find on mountains like this is that there are, when you see it from a distance, you can actually see all the different routes that people have created to kind of get up the mountain. I like it. I think it's quite cool. It kind of shows you the tracking history of people, where they've been, you know, and once somebody goes one way and makes a track, everybody tends to follow it. We are a bit sheep-like sometimes. We like to follow what others do. I'll just reinforce the edges because I know it's soft and therefore we kind of lose the edges here. This comes up. I've got this section here. And then as we work away, we start getting all the slopey bits past the shale. It does actually come up quite high, for it makes a rather abrupt descent again. So that actually comes down across that way. Almost, there's like a really dark gully bit here, so I don't know if that's a gully, a different type of material, because it doesn't look like a cave, it doesn't look like a hole. It just looks like a different coloured, a darker stone, which is weird because it doesn't seem to really appear anywhere else. But who knows? There'll probably be a geologist somewhere that will be able to explain it. And of course I'm getting interrupted by motorbikes. This is what the summer, some weather brings out. I don't blame them actually. I mean, even wearing leathers on a bike in this weather, it must be beautiful. And with the wind chill factor at moving at speed, it must keep relatively cool when they get really hot when they get off, or stop for any significant length of time somewhere. So yeah, I don't blame them for being out in this weather, but they can be so loud. How are we hanging here? Not doing too bad actually, all things considered. I think we're getting the shape there that I really want. This has got a line that comes down and joins that one there. Yeah, I'm not sure I really want to do too much there. At least too much more. See, if I smooth it out, we'll lose some of the definition, but not too much. Just use it to add. What are we thinking, yeah? Yeah, I quite like that, so we'll leave that one as it is. I will give that one a very light spray of hairspray though, because I want it still slightly movable, but not massively so. Right, what are we doing with our next one? I want to see the water, because there's I'm not sure what it is, there's some sort of like little, almost like a military pillbox in the middle of the lake. So we've got the standard path coming up that way, and it kind of cups up that way, back that way, and then off diagonally up that way. Right, so that's the pedestrian path that everybody likes to take. There's a tiny little bank there, and then our body of water comes this way, curves and continues that way, and then in. We're only doing one kind of weird corner of it, rather than all of it, just because I didn't really want to do all of it. There's actually a dissecting path there, and then that comes off that way. There's a path that comes along and then almost diagonally down again. That's probably people, because you can see the little lock quite well on the way up, but for a better view of it is to take the secondary path off to the side, and then you get a really gorgeous view of it. So I'm going to make all this really super dark. I'm not sure I like this one, but maybe working more on it later, it might change my mind. This is lighter, so there's a round bit there, and then that's lighter. It's also light around the lake edge there, the lock edge, coming that way. Yeah, we'll leave it like that. And I will spray it with water though. I want a bit of texture going on. There we go. Just let the water kind of move things around. I mean, I could. I try and be careful not to get it on that one, but we'll leave it like that. Okay, 3 left. Doing well. All these different thumbnail takes on a single painting should give you some sort of idea of some of the things you can actually create. Sometimes it's just so lovely to be able to see the sorts of things you can truly create. I want to really bring this back in. That's this mountain there. This comes up and down the hill. We're heading that way, and then behind it is one of the next hills. Yeah. I want this more atmospheric, so kind of like that. Obviously I can't see all the detail, and it's not exactly a big reference photo, so I have zoomed in fairly far on my tablet in order to be able to see the kind of layout. The problem with that is that it becomes very blurry and very washed out, but in some respects I like that, but at the same time it just mutes everything possibly a little too much. So that's the runoff there. Right. So that's the more kind of distant shape one of the, so that's Benveraki there. That's its kind of joining hill coming down, and that's a sister hill in the distant, something like that. I'm just putting a couple of little drops on, so you won't see much, but it is there. Oh. Right, I'm just looking at the composition, the actual image, and I'm thinking I might do a wider one of the lake. So we've got Lamas here, it's actually cutting in front there, and that's quite classic because the lake, you can't see it unless you're up there. You literally have to go up there to see it. The path we know goes off there, so we'll just do that. And that goes that way. It's got another line there, another line there. That comes down to there. And we've got a little hut thing which is here. This has got stuff going into the water. And yeah, the water is really that blue. It's such a beautiful body of water up there. Try to make this bit of the front really dark. But that's not always going to be easy. This foreground hill's a little bit spiky, so we'll just do some spikiness there. Try not to smudge it everywhere with my fingers. The whole point in this is that we don't see where it goes, so it's just going up and disappearing into that hill. Darker there for some reason. A lighter section of this gorse going up the hill and all the heather. That kind of goes up there. Let's join it that way. And we'll leave it like that because it's lighter at the top there. Okay, again we're going to spray. I want a lot of water on this, I do want a lot of movement. Just going to tip the board and allow it to kind of move a bit because it's all kind of run. The paper's warped slightly, so it's kind of running around, not in places I want it, but close enough. Okay, so our final one. Don't want to do the whole. The thing is with this reference photo is I don't want to do the whole thing. The reason being is the focal point of this photo is you're taking a photo of the mountain. So in theory, your focal point should be the mountain. But because of the way the reference photo is and because of where the lake is, your eyes look up to the mountain and then almost immediately are drawn to this bright blue bold mark slashing across the bottom of the picture. And it draws your eye, and I think for me it's all the wrong reasons. And you know, I'd like to see what you guys think. What do you think is the weaknesses and strength of this reference photo? How would you view it, and would you do something similar to what I've done in going, do you know what, that doesn't work, so I'm going to just do that bit of it, or that bit, or that bit. I often crop my photos down to cut things out. And like this, I can do multiple different studies of a reference photo to kind of first of all, get my head into what the composition of the reference photo is and why I took it in the first place. And then secondly, what I want to get out of it, because that's actually more important than actually taking the photo. Because at the end of the day, you're out and about. If you're walking up a mountain back down again, you don't necessarily have time, especially as the weather here can change so quickly. So you've got a limited amount of time to go, that would make a good reference photo, it's got some interesting aspects, take that photo. It's when you get back to the studio and then you look back at it and you go, I'm not so sure about it. I like it, and as a photo it's lovely, but for composition and recreating as a painting, I'm not 100% about it, and this is why. And that's when you can start getting into doing an exercise like this, where you can start focusing on different elements and different parts of the painting to go, what actually would you like to paint? You know, what element really catches your eye and makes you think, actually, I could really work with that and make that not necessarily more interesting, but more engaging. And that is way more important. So, what are we going to do with our last one? That is a bit of a difficult one. Do you know what? I think I'm just going to go straight bold marks and just do the edges and leave it like that. I just want to see what I can achieve with that. So say that's the top of the mountain, and it comes that way, and then let's go this way. I can't see the edge because my fingers are in the way, so I'm just using the edge to just create. Oh no, that's not going to work, is it? Can't have the hill higher than the mountain, that won't work. It's kind of nice just creating shapes with the flat of the charcoal. Like that. Really, really, really simple. I've not put any kind of major effort in there. I'm going to darken some bits though. I want it a bit darker. Yeah, that's a bit better. Right, and again, I'm going to add a little bit of water just so it soaks in. I'm only going to lightly spray this one. I don't want it to go too far moving around the paper. I always say that and then add more because I'm never satisfied, but we'll leave that like that. Right. So what do you guys think? Has this been helpful to you guys? Have you kind of looked at this and gone, oh, actually, yeah, this is useful. This is a good way to break down a painting and go, what actually can I get from it? So what I'm going to do is all this needs to thoroughly dry before I can do anything else. So I'm going to leave it here for this video and join me for the next video when we start looking at adding colour, adding tone, and then bringing out more of that contrast. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this insight and I will see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.